So Ikea is known for selling furniture that looks great at very rock bottom prices. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I would design an Ikea coffee table using Fusion 360. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so you can see here we're looking at the LAC coffee table, black brown. So here you could see that we're just going to go ahead and reverse engineer it, and they gave us the schematics of everything that we need right here. So we're just going to take these dimensions and I'll show you how it's made. So let's hop into Fusion 360. And again, Fusion 360 is free for personal use. So if you want to download it, I'll put the link in the video description. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to show our origin here. And then we're going to save, and we're just going to call this IKEA coffee table. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and go to Assemble. We're going to go to New Component. We're going to hit Activate because we don't want it to keep switching. So we're going to uncheck that. And then we're just going to call out the pieces that we need. So in total, we will have about 6 pieces, if I remember. We'll have the tabletop. And let me bring this back. Okay, so we'll have the tabletop. We'll have leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4. That's 5 pieces. And then we'll have the middle shelf, which is 6 pieces. So let's call this tabletop. Then we'll call our next component leg 1. And then we'll call our next component leg 2. The component after that will be leg 3. And you guessed it, leg 4. And then middle shelf. Okay, so you can see here on our tree, we added all of those different components. And if you want to look at them, you can click the drop down and see. And right now we're going to activate our tabletop. Over here, you could see that we're going to sketch it on the YX plane or the XY plane. So we're going to choose here, and this is already activated. So we're going to come up here to the feature menu, and this is already activated. So we're going to come up here to the toolbar and we're going to click create sketch. So now that we've done that, we can hide the sketch palette. And then we can draw a center rectangle. So we're going to click the drop down for create. We're going to go to rectangle and then center rectangle. And we're going to try to draw off the origin always. And this is the origin, or when we can, we want to draw off the origin. And in this case, it makes perfect sense to do so. And by us drawing off the origin, we'll be able to take advantage of that as we mirror and do all the other stuff with our parts. So here we click on the origin and we just drag out randomly. And then now I press escape. And so this isn't defined. It is still able to move. So we're going to fully define it with a sketch dimension. So we're going to click the top line and the bottom line. So we're going to make that 21 and 5/8, or 5/8 is 0.562. Okay, so now our top and bottom lines are fully constrained. And we're going to do the same thing here for the left and right. We're going to make that 35 and 3/8, or 35.375. Okay, so those are the same dimensions, and all I'm doing here is looking at this and grabbing these dimensions that you could see right here, 35 and 3/8 and 21 and 5/8. 35 and 3/8, 21 and 5/8. So here we go. And then now we're fully defined. We can't drag, so we're going to click Finish Sketch. We're going to rotate, and now you can see that we have the base for our tabletop. We have the geometry that we need, or the sketch that we need. So now we add geometry. We come up here to the toolbar again, and we click on Extrude, and we have a choice. We could extrude down or we could extrude up. But what we want to do is we want to be able to draw our legs on this plane, on this face. So we want to extrude up and not down. So we're going to give that the thickness of 2 inches. Okay, so now if we click on this line and we see down here, we should see that that length is 2. And same thing if we wanted to click inspect, we can click that, click the top, rotate, and then click that. And you could see there, it gives it a distance of 2 inches. So now we have our dimensions that we need. Remember, this is 35 and 3/8. This is 21 and 5/8. And then the thickness is 2 inches. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and hit the home button. Anytime you move this in space and you're not sure where it is, you can just hit the home button and it'll bring it back to make it isometric. And we have not locked this down, so we want to ground it so that it doesn't move off the origin. So now that we right clicked and we press unground, here we can right click again and press ground, and now we can't move it. So now that we have our tabletop, we want to move on to leg 1, and then leg 2, leg 3, leg 4. So we'll do one sketch that sits in leg 1, and then we'll just do bodies for the rest of them, and you see what I mean. So here, if we click on leg 1 and we activate, we notice that now our tabletop goes transparent. So anytime we're in that component, it's going to make all the other components transparent. And anytime we want to see both of the components or all of the components, we can click right here for the top level assembly and see that everything is highlighted. So if I go back down to leg 1, and remember I said in the beginning that we wanted to sketch on this bottom face, which is why we did our extrude going up. So now we are located and activated in leg 1. We can click create sketch. It's asking for a sketch plane. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this bottom face there. So now we're sketching on that, and you can see the outline. So here what we can do is we can do a 2-point triangle this time, and we can zoom in here and drop a random rectangle, and then we can sketch that. So the legs themselves are 2 inches by 2 inches. So we're going to click the top, the bottom, we're going to make that 2 inches. And then we're going to click left to right because we haven't locked down the right side. The left side is snapped to our outline here, so that's not moving. The top is snapped to this edge here. And then the bottom we controlled with this 2 inches. So we need to do the same thing to the right side, is control that so it doesn't move. And the reason why you don't want these things to move is because you may not be the person who updates this. So if you come back to it 2 months from now, 2 years from now, and you want to make this 3 inches instead of 2 inches, you want whoever does that, even if it's you, to just come in here and be able to type in 3 inches and then have everything update, as opposed to moving it around again and trying to guess. So as I undo that, and then now here we go to the sketch dimension again, we left click both lines, and then here we just do 2 inches. So now we have our leg 1, and what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of our geometry here that we have and our origin, and we are going to mirror this over here. So now we're going to click on create, we're going to click on mirror, and then what we're going to do is it's asking for an object to mirror, and we're saying we want to mirror this line, this line, this line, and this line, all 4 lines. And so now that you see all of those objects selected here for mirror line, you want to click on that, and then you want to click right here, which is going to be our y-axis. So once I click on the y-axis here for a line, you'll see that now this has been created, and this is an exact replication of that. And so if we click OK, so now, and here's what's great about that, if we make this 10 inches, you'll see that this right side also moves. So if we type in 10, that updates. And if we type in 5, that also updates. So we have this left side as the driving and this right side as the driven. So all we have to do is now worry about one thing, and then we can make changes to both. So that's the power of mirroring. And then I'm going to see if we can mirror this and this across the way so that we end up with 4 legs and we only have to control them with 1 or 2 dimensions. So here now, if we click on create and go back to mirror, you could see here it's asking for objects to mirror. We're going to click this one, this line, that line, that line. And then we're going to click this line, this line, this line, this line. So now we've clicked all 8 lines. It's asking for a mirror line. Last time we did the y-axis. This time we're going to click here and we're going to do the x-axis. So x is up here and x is right here as well. So when we click that, you can see now that your 2 have been given there. So I'm going to show that one more time. So we have all 8 of these lines selected. It's asking now for a mirror line. If we click there and keep your eye here and keep your eye here as I select the x-axis. Now you can see that they both got added and we click OK. So now, even better, you have one sketch over here and the rest are just mirrors of that one sketch. So if we wanted to make this 15 and click there, you could see now they all update. And if we wanted to make this 4, all update. So that's the great part about being able to do a mirror when you have components that are supposed to look all the same, is that you really only have to do one and then you can mirror that around. So now this sketch is fully defined with just this 1, 2 here and this 1, 2 there. And then we can now begin to create each leg as a separate component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude that leg and I'm going to rotate this model so you could see right there. And we're going to call to our extrude command and it's looking for a profile. We're going to click and zoom in and click there. When in doubt, just zoom in and you'll be fine. Okay, so now if we want to move left to right, we hold the middle mouse button. If we want to rotate, we hold shift and the middle mouse button and we move up and down. And then if we want to go ahead and just zoom in and out, we scroll up and down on the middle mouse button. Okay, so now the length of our leg is going to be 15 3/4. So we're going to just drag that down and be 15.75. Okay, and how do I know that that's 15 3/4? Well, the entire length of our table, as you can see here, is 17 3/4, and we made this 2. So I just took 17 3/4 and subtracted 2 to get the rest of it, which would be 15 3/4. Okay, and if we wanted to just double check that 17 3/4, we can hit the inspect. We can zoom in to the bottom face, click there on the leg, we can rotate and we can click the tabletop, and that should come out to 17 3/4, and it does, 17.75. And remember, the leg 1 is activated here in our tree, but if we want to see them both, we can go ahead and just click activate component at the top level. And now both of them are solid and we can do the same thing. Inspect, we can click the top there and then we can click the bottom face there. And then that tells us it's 17.75 for the distance. All right. Now, if you notice, we can no longer see that sketch because what we did when we did the extrude is it actually hid this sketch for us. So if we go down here to our leg 1, we activate the component and we click the drop down here, you see origin, bodies, and sketches. First thing we want to do is we want to ground our leg 1. So we're going to right click ground so that it can't move and now we can't drag it. Then we're going to go into sketches and see here, we see sketch 1, and that's the sketch that we use to create all 4 of these. So if we unhide it, you could see that now all of them come back again. And if we hide it, you can see it goes away. So we did the first leg. We wanted to call this leg 2, leg 3, leg 4. So we're going to now go into our component for leg 2. We're going to activate that and we're going to click extrude. So now it's asking for a profile and we're going to highlight this, which is from our sketch 1 on our leg 1. We're going to highlight that rectangle. And then instead of us typing in 15 3/4 again, what we can do on the extrude once we selected a profile is we can come over here to extent type and we can tell it, hey, I want you leg 2 to be the same length as leg 1. So basically I want this face here and this face here to be on the same plane. I want them to both be the same length. So we're going to go to distance and we're going to change to object And right now it's asking us to select an object, and we're going to select this here, this face right here on leg 1. And when we select that, you could see now here it's 15.75. Leg 1 was 15.75. And if we rotate like that on the right plane, you could see that now they are the same exact length. And then we just press OK. It creates a new body, and then it creates that body in here for leg 2. And same thing, if we went to leg 1, you could see that when we click that, that's the body for leg 1. And leg 2 is activated, so it's solid. If we wanted to activate everything again, we would click the top level there, and you could see that now everything is solid. So let's just continue on. We're going to repeat the same process for leg 3. So this is how a lot of professional designers get away with making changes quickly, is they try to input as little data as possible and use 1 or 2 sketches to drive as many things as they can, 1 or 2 variables to drive as many things as they can, so that it's parametric, so that everything builds on itself. So for instance, if I want to go back to sketch 1 and edit that and make this 10 inches and click finish sketch, you could see that when we bring everything back to be activated, you could see here that it updated the other sketch without us having to do anything. We just drove one parameter is driving the other. Okay, so let me Control Z that out. Okay, so I undid that, and now let's move on to our leg 3. We're going to activate that. We're going to come back up here. We're going to click extrude. As you can see, our sketch 1 from our leg 1 is still showing. We haven't hit it again, so it's still showing. So now we can just click this, and same thing. We can say here after we select our profile that we don't want to type in 15.75 again. We just want to do to object, and we're going to drive it all off of leg 1. That way, if there's an error in the future, we know that it'll all go back to leg 1. You can click this face here for leg 2. It doesn't matter. I just like things to go ahead and link to one thing because it's quicker for troubleshooting later on. So we're going to click face 1, and same thing here. And if we did right plane, you could see now this edge and this edge are the same. And if you wanted to check that, you can click inspect. You can click here and you can click this edge. And then you should see no difference for them going through that direction off that Z, which you don't. Okay, so now we've done legs 1, 2, and 3. Let me activate it so you can see it. We've done legs 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and do leg 4. So here we activate the component for leg 4, and then we can go ahead and click extrude again. We click this profile because it's asking us for a profile here on our extrude window. We click there, and then again, to object, and for our extent type, and we want the object to be this face here on our leg 1, and we click OK. Now the benefit just keeps on giving, right? So if we wanted to activate leg 1 here, and you can see down here on our feature list that we can edit the feature, and instead of 15.75, we can make that 20.75. And if we change this one to 20.75, we'll quickly see that all the other 3 legs will update to be 20.75 as well once we hit OK. And now, if we click there, you could see that they all grew by that 5 inches. So if we click here, that's 20.75, here's 20.75, and then this leg is 20.75. Okay, so let me change it back. If we go back here and activate leg 1, and you can do it from here without activating leg 1, but as we're beginning, I still want to be able to show you guys what that's like. So I will right click here to cut the feature list down, because when you're up here in the top level, every feature we've done so far is being shown and they're color coded. So everything that's pink has to do with the top level. Everything here that is light and baby blue has to do with tabletop. Pink again, or a salmon type color, has to do with leg 2 and etc. But when you activate it, it cuts it down for you so that it's just those things that have to deal with that component. So for us, for leg 1, all we did was sketch and then extrude. So here, if we edit this extrude, it's going to be 15.75. Okay, so then now here we have everything that we need. And then we are going to take a look and rotate. And now we have all 4 legs and our tabletop. And then we no longer need our sketch to show because I don't think we're going to use it again. And if we do, we can always show it. But for now, we're just going to click. We're going to go back to leg 1, sketch 1, and we're going to hide. And now we don't need that sketch. And I just want to make sure we grounded what we created. So right here on leg 3, we can ground that so it doesn't accidentally move. And then leg 4, we can also ground. And I don't know if we grounded leg 2, so let's just double check. We didn't because you would see a pin here to let it know that it's stuck in place. So right click leg 2 and go ahead and click ground. Okay, and save because this software does crash like every other 3D modeling software. So you want to make sure you don't lose your work. And then you can press the home button. And this is what our table looks like so far. Very nice. And we're almost done. We just need to add that middle shelf. Okay, so the last thing we need to add is that middle shelf here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to draw off of our tabletop bottom. And we're just going to draw down 7.5 inches is where we'll put a plane. And then we will go ahead and extrude down. And then we're going to have a 1/2 inch shelf. So what I want to do now is go to middle shelf and activate that. And so now that we're in middle shelf, we said that we would do 7.5 inches from, and let me bring it back so it's easier. We said we would do 7.5 inches from that plane. So let's go ahead and go down the middle shelf. Let's go to construct and let's go to offset plane. And it's asking us for offset plane window to choose a plane. We're going to choose this face, or we can choose the XY plane because they're the exact same plane, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to choose this face. And it's asking us how we want to extrude and where we want to put our plane. And we want to put our plane, let me just move this up. We want to put it at 7.5 inches from the tabletop bottom. So I'm going to type in 7.5. Okay, and same thing. If you inspect that and click on the plane and then click on the tabletop bottom, you'll see that you're exactly 7.5 inches, which is exactly what we wanted. And then now we're going to sketch on this plane and we're going to sketch down 1/2 inch so we can create our shelf. And the cool thing is we're going to use our legs, which are already there, and we're going to make it flush to this face and this face. Now the real tabletop sits in about 1/4 inch, but that'll be a future lesson on a future day. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have our tabletop run exactly flush to this face, and then we're going to have it run flush to that face and this face. So we're going to use those faces as our standard for creating our middle shelf. So now here under middle shelf, we have that highlighted as our component. We're going to click create sketch. It's asking for us to choose a plane. We're going to choose this plane right here. Okay, and we're looking at it from the top, but I want to show you guys if that's obstructing your view, you can go ahead and look at it from the bottom. Okay, so now we see exactly where we are. And we are going to use our legs. So these are the outlines for our legs. We're going to use those in order to create our middle shelf. So now we just need to draw a tabletop that goes from here to here and inside of our rectangle. And again, we won't have to measure anything because we're just using existing geometry. So since the shelf is a rectangle, we're going to click 2-point rectangle. We're going to zoom in. We're going to click right here. We're not going to click exactly on the leg. We'll snap to it. It's asking us to place our first corner. And then we're just going to drop it randomly in place. And then we're going to use constraints in order to move it to where it needs to be. So this thing can move up and down, in and out, and we want to constrain that. So we want this point and the point that is right here on the corner of this rectangle to be on the same exact point in space. So we want to click coincident, and then we want to select this point, and then we want to select this point right there. And then now you could see that our point on our rectangle to our point on the leg is on the same exact point in space. And that's how we got our first table. So now that we can see it, if we rotate it, this edge and this face are flush. So we're going to do the same thing on the right side. We are going to make coincident this point and this point here, and it's going to do the same thing and make this point on the top right and that point there the same. So I'm going to try to do it zoomed out. We're going to, again, just click coincident. We're going to click this point here on our rectangle for our middle shelf and this point here on our leg. And then now it's fully defined. It's all black and I can't drag it at all. So if you rotate it, you could see that we have created the middle shelf geometry that we're going to need. I'm really saying geometry, but really it's just the profile. The geometry comes in after we add the volume. So here we're going to click finish sketch now that we're done with that. And then the thickness of the shelf is 1/2 inch. So we're going to click extrude. You could see all we're doing is repeating the same commands. We've used a rectangle for our tabletop, basically a square for our legs, and then a rectangle again for our middle shelf. And we're using the same 2 or 3 commands each time. So here we click on extrude, and then the profile is already selected for us. So we can click out of that and click profile. And then the distance is going to be 1/2 inch, so 0.5. Okay, perfect. And we just need to double check. So here when we pressed inspect, let me go ahead and activate the top level. So that's looking pretty good. We just want to double check that we're 7.5 from the tabletop bottom to the top of the middle shelf. So we click there and we click here, and that's 7.5. So now that that is done, we can go ahead and click the home button. We can ground our middle shelf, and then we can hide everything we don't need, which we just don't need that anymore. And you can see that is how you make and design a coffee table, the LAC coffee table from Ikea. All right, guys, so that's going to be another build. You could see how when we take a product, any product, you can reverse engineer it. It's even easier when they give you the dimensions. But this is how any product starts out. Someone will have an idea. You'll sketch something down on paper, and then you'll model it in a 3D software like Fusion 360, and then you'll bring it to life. Now what we can do with this is we can make drawings. We can not make drawings. We, in theory, could scale this down and 3D print it. There's so many things we can do with this. We now know exactly how much material we need. Those are all the benefits. Let me know if there's something you guys want to see me design in a future video, and I'll probably do it. All right, I'm Neil, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.